Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show we talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Legacies. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, let's start off with the Aurora and Hope situation. Swap bodies, and Aurora is messing with Hope, being like, oh, am I right behind you? Oh, you still haven't gotten acquired to my body, but I'm getting acquired to yours, so I could come strike you down at any moment in time. Living it up and enjoying it. Lo and behold, who shows up? Lizzie, like, bam! Karma striking you just like that. I love it. And she's like, oh, if I wanted to, I could stab you right through the heart, because nature finds a way, right? So now I could kill you if I wanted to. But it's like, right, you idiot, I'm not Hope Michelson. And it's like, well, let's work together. I'm like, Jesus, Lizzie, you are going down deep the rabbit hole, aren't you? Considering that you're going this far, you're like willing to work with Aurora. It's like, I even love that she was like, yeah, we've both been hurt by the Michelsons. Like this one time Hope did, it was like something of hers, like a hair comb or something. It's like, it's something of hers. And even Aurora's like, are you comparing your like little insignificant thing to me having suffered because of the Michelsons? It's like, whatever the case may be, we need to both stop the Michelsons, so let's work together. And so it's interesting that essentially Aurora found a sarcophagus that basically will hold, it's supposed to be something that could hold a god, which even like you have Lizzie being like a god, and it's like, whoa, monsters exist, so why wouldn't gods? I'm like, well, there's a technicality behind it, because it's like, well, Cade kind of ran amok like he was a god, when in actuality, like, because, you know, he created hell, but it was like, no, that was a psychic hell, and he's just a psychic. Like, so he wasn't like the god, like a god, but he was god tier in a sense when it came to the Vampire Diary universe. I mean, I guess like, I guess the closest after that would be like Silas power level, maybe like, they enter that, I guess, almost like demigod territory, just like how powerful they are. But, I'd love to kind of look at it. I'm sure someone's done that, like Vampire Diaries universe, like what supernatural creatures stand on top power ranking wise. I'm sure that video or that information's out there on the internet. I'd love to kind of look into that at some point in time. But I love the moment Aurora's like, oh, put him at the bottom of the lake and you'll be suffering forever and ever. I'm like, oh, like your brother Tristan. I was like, right. She didn't throw that in there, but it's like, yeah, like that's who you immediately can think of. Like, oh yeah, that was his punishment. So. But I love that that even that was too much for Lizzie. She's like, really? I mean, I want her to be in pain, sure, but like, I mean, even Lizzie's like, isn't that a little overboard? Which I'm like, you're the one that's going so hard in the paint, and then the fact that you met someone that's going even harder in the paint than you're like, whoa. Kind of seems kind of far to go, because especially in her mind, it's like you're trying to go after Hope, but like Hope's not the one that hurt you, her dad did, and it's like your pain isn't going to go away the moment you hurt Hope, you know? It's like, because the people you want to get back at, the person in particular, I mean, you want to get back at a lot of the Michelsons, but the only two of the siblings still alive are Rebecca and Cole. Everyone else is dead now, so it's like, you know, I'm sure you probably want some vendetta about Rebecca. I don't know what your relationship was like with Cole. I'm sure it wasn't that positive, so. But it's like, right, the one she wants the most is Hope, because Hope's direct connection to Klaus. If getting revenge against her is like getting revenge against Klaus, because it's like, right, you're his legacy. You're his, you know, you were so important to him, so this is my way to get back at you. But it's like, yeah, it's not going to fill that void. It's not going to make her feel better. And even if it does, eventually that's going to wear off. You're still, you know, that anger is all you have to hold on to. And it's like, what are you going to be without it? Is going to be the big question. So Lizzie kind of backing out like that, and kind of forcing her to call Hope. Well, Hope gets called by Lizzie because that's what Aurora wants to like do this. But Lizzie's like, nope. Pushes her in the sarcophagus and is like, right, okay, now that I can check one off the list, now I got to figure out how I'm going to, what I'm going to do about Hope. But like Hope arrives before she has a chance to figure it out. So they're circling each other, and it's like, right, I plan on taking you down and stuff like that. She's like, all right, fine, you wanted to? Go ahead, kill me. Take your best shot. I'm like, oh, she literally did the same thing to MG, because she's like, you're not going to be able to do it. Because, yeah, your therapy box helped you. It's like, yeah, therapy's one thing. it's a whole other thing applying what you went through with therapy into actionable, well, action. So it's like, yeah, go ahead and try and kill me. But for Lizzie, she can't, despite how angry she is. But the reason why she's angry is because she's, it's love. It all comes from love because, she's only hurting this much because she was betrayed by the person that she loves. It's like, at the end of the day, Lizzie and Hope are they are besties. They are sisters of a sort. They are besties, and it's like, being betrayed by once again, this universe is made up of the most oddball friendships. Like, come on, like my favorite, I never thought they'd be besties. Damon and Bonnie, that was the number one. Wait, I mean, to be fair, when you're stuck in a prison universe together that keeps repeating, then obviously you're going to grow close, but that was still my favorite. Oh my god, I can't believe Damon and Bonbon are besties like that, so that to me was my first, that's, at least to my recollection, that's the first friendship in this universe, and I was like, man, that's a weird friendship, especially because they hated each other. They tolerated each other just for Elena's sake, but then it's yeah, here we are figuring this out, because I want to say that was post Elena, right? Yeah, I think she was already in her deep sleep in the coffin, if I remember. I think that was, that was definitely post that, because tangents and all that aside, but regardless, it kind of reminded me of that in that moment, and it's just you became a part of my messed up family, Hope. You aren't just some stranger. You are part of my family, and you made me care about you, and I hate you for and I think that's so great, because I'm it's ironic that the one who had kind of given up on Hope is the one who could potentially save her, because Lizzie has a very anti I guess because at first I was maybe it's because Lizzie has a different relationship with Hope than anyone else did. Everyone clicked with Hope and they were friends with Hope. Even though Hope might have pushed people away, everyone else was pretty positive with Hope except for Lizzie. Lizzie's the only one that but Lizzie's relationship grew, and that made it her and Hope's bond a little special because of the hurdles they had to go through to become the besties that they are. But in that moment you see that Hope comes back and she's smiling and everything, which I'll go ahead and bring it up. That should have been the key sign, the key sign there, because I was you notice I was that's kind of weird. Are we just smiling? And she's apologetic. I'm the real Hope will be breaking down about what she done. I was despite everything, she put Alaric in a position where he potentially can't get healed. He's kind of borderline dead. So you think she'd be breaking down a little bit more after that. So that's why I was oh, that's kind of weird. And I was all right. But they prepared this spell or whatever, and I love that it's we can talk about the forgiveness and stuff like that, an apology from Hope Michelson. I want to kind of be all there, focused on it. So it's let's switch the bodies, and to know it went through, you're gonna have to tell me something that only you would know. And so they switch bodies, and it's Panda Promise, and you're yeah! Oh, that's so beautiful, that's so cute. And Aurora's no, she'll betray you, she's a Michelson, and it's yeah, Aurora. Because I was I knew they weren't going to lock Aurora up. I thought, we're going to try and help you through this. Maybe the therapy box might be able to help you. Who knows what it would be able to do for you. Because I was about to say the only other option would be to lock her up, because she's going to be dead set on revenge, but it's she got away, but then Hope is asking about the spike and everything, and it's oh yeah, that tree we made. It's oh cool, yeah, it's oak, and it's yeah, well, red oak, which is interesting. I wonder what made nature decide to manifest that. I guess because the white oak was already taken with the originals, but why? I guess red would be a little bit more natural, I guess, than I don't know. It just seems interesting to go from white to red but I guess it's showing you how dangerous it manifests in a way that's supposed to be a color representing this is how dangerous the hybrid is, because it needs to be this crimson red, because the world will run red with blood because of how terrible the hybrid is. I don't know if that's supposed to be indicative of that, but and the moment Hope's oh, well, that's kind of the way she was responding. I was that's kind of, oh, cool. And she's oh, your humanity never flipped back on. I was nope, I've been faking it the entire time. I was now that's a really good twist. But like I said, at first I was that kind of felt right that she was faking it, because, once again, it's kind of sad, because I was oh man, that was actually going to be pretty dope. But it's her reaction didn't seem sincere, because I feel if it was the real Hope, she wouldn't have been smiling at, I'm back. But it's No, she'd be like broken down, like, oh my god, I can't believe what happened to Alaric. I can't believe what I did to Dr. Saltzman. It's like, especially because it's not like he's just anybody. He's a pseudo father figure to her. Not pseudo, but he is a father figure to her. So she'd be a lot more brokenhearted about it. So that definitely was interesting. But yeah, she plans on like, right, no one's going to give up. And even now, Lizzie's team are not giving up. She's like, I believe, like, at first I was a person that didn't believe in Josie, that you could be saying that there was any good in you, but I believe it. I know you're still in there. And it's like, oh, then I'll just have to make another example. She's like, you won't kill me. I don't know whether she was saying like, right, because I'm not what you love, so you wouldn't kill me. But it's like, in actuality, you are. You know, it's like, well, she's already killed what she loves, Landon. What's one more thing that she loves? Because, once again, it's like, her relationship with Lizzie is special in its own regard, because, like, yeah, they had to go through some tough times a couple years before they became the besties. But it's like, yeah, they obviously could get along, but it's just like their personal stuff kept getting in the way. And so she's like, you won't do anything. And Hope goes over and snaps Lizzie next. I was like, oh. I was like, there's no way she's going to stay perma-dead. They're going to find a way around this. My initial thought was, is she going to end up in, like, that purgatory limbo with the rest of them? I was like, that's going to be interesting. That's actually going to be super sad when Alaric finds out. But then later on, I was like, wait, does she have... And the moment she talks to Josie later, I was like... Vampire blood. She's like, yeah, I had a contingency plan. I was like, right. They threw that out there a couple episodes ago when Josie and not Josie, but Lizzie and Alaric were talking about vampire blood as being a potential option with this whole merge situation to kind of cancel it out. But obviously Alaric isn't too keen on it because, well, becoming a vampire is not the easiest thing. That's a lot. But you also have to think about too. Lizzie already, and I'm not trying to say this like in a disparaging way, it's just like even Lizzie recognizes that she has emotional issues. What does becoming a vampire do? It heightens your emotions. So whatever like she naturally feel is already at a 10. This is going to be a 10 times 10 type of situation the moment she becomes a vampire, which she is. So that's definitely going to be interesting. It'd be interesting if it ended up somehow counterbalancing itself. I don't see that happening. I think she's just going to be even more extreme. She has moments of being able to kind of bring herself back, but like those moments would come in ebb and flow of like how she'd kind of like lose herself emotionally, just like her brain is wired differently. You add vampirism on top of that, it's going to be a whole new ball game when it comes to Lizzie. So I am curious what, I guess Hope was doing what I was thinking about, like, oh, like, because there's no way they were ever going to put Aurora in there because, like, right, we don't want to put you through that again. We want you to be better. Like, yeah, you might be trying to kill me and everything, but we'd never want you to go through that again. At least Hope, who probably cared, wouldn't want her to go through that again. Lizzie wouldn't want her to go through that, especially because she didn't want Hope to go through that. But especially because, like, Lizzie connected in regards of being like, yeah, like she realizes like, right, you're a victim and I don't want you to basically continue to be like, you're just going to lose yourself in this revenge. Like it's not going to fix anything. So Lizzie wouldn't be about it, but I'm assuming Hope back to her evil tribe itself is all about like, cool, I'm going to set this up so that Aurora could be like locked in it or something. It's like, oh, I'm going to lock you in there and what you have planned for me, I got planned for you. Maybe. We'll see, because it seemed like she was trying to open it, but maybe she couldn't open it. Maybe because only like Lizzie maybe enchanted it so that only she could be the one that opens and closes it. Because it seemed like Hope was trying to open it, but she couldn't. So that's definitely going to be interesting. But I mean, the thing is, she's a vampire now. It's like, right, she's going to be, her emotions are going to be all over the place. So she might. Little tidbit we saw from the episode, it seems like most likely her and Lizzie are going to tear up the town. It's probably going to be very much like, interestingly enough, it's probably going to be like when Klaus told, I mean, to be fair, like Klaus and Stefan had their like fun in the past, but the present day, Klaus was like, turn off your humanity because he wanted the Ripper back, so, and that's also going to be interesting too, like, what kind of vampire would Lizzie be? Because I wouldn't be too surprised if she ended up being the Ripper. Like, the only other Ripper we're aware of is MG, so Lizzie being one would be interesting because I think that would end up bringing them closer together in the grand scheme of things, so we'll see. Because also, like, if at any point in time, well, she is a hybrid, so the originals can push regular vampires and compel them. I don't know if Hope can. Hope can, right? Didn't she try that, or has she not tried? I don't remember. She's compelled humans, but I don't know if she's tried to compel she is a tribrid, but it still might she's still like the originals are still on at a different level, but she is a tribrid, so I don't think that came up when she was interrogating that vampire, whether she was able to get information from him like that. It's like, no. I mean, she'd be able to, like, you know, push any other supernatural, whether it's a witch or a, as long as there's no vervain in their system, but, she's going to be able to push Lizzie. Well, like I said, I don't know. She might not even need to, like, Lizzie might just naturally flow in that direction. I think they're gonna cause quite the havoc. It's twisted that they're back to being they could be back to being besties again, but we're like, yeah, we're besties, evil squad type of situation. So I think that's kind of what they potentially might set up there. So we'll see where that goes, especially with the Aurora situation of her still running amok. So there's that. There's the whole situation in the afterlife where I was like, right, we're going to steer that boat, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, all right, let's do it. They hand over their coins, but it turns out that Ferryman's like, cool, you got one of many. Each one of you has to fill up your respective glasses. And it's like, right, both Alaric and Ted have massive ones. And even Landon has his isn't big, but it's still like quite a bit. And I love that like Alaric and Ted are drinking because Alaric's like, yeah, I've killed a lot of people, but even if I have, they all deserved it. I mean, it's like, but you, and he's like, and Ted's almost like, what? He's like, never mind. It's basically like, yeah, you've done evil. The evil say anyone I kill was, you know, the bad people I needed to stop. Yeah, like, you know, I'll probably cross the line who cares? You know? And even Ted was feeling bad for Landon. He's like, yeah, that kid's getting punished for stuff that Malivore did when he was in control. But Landon's like, right, you guys are up here drinking. There's a whole thousands of souls here. We could be helping. We get enough coins, we can bounce. So it's like, oh, good on you. I love that he was like, your incessant need to insert yourself in other people's lives actually comes to help us in the end. Sadly, Ted made no leeway. We don't even know if Alaric made any. I doubt it. But your boy Landon put in some work. His glass was pretty much full, if not considered full. But Ted was like, yeah, I was fooling myself. He's like, at no point did I actually believe I'd ever be worthy of, you know, peace because of who I am and what I've done in the past. And he was like, you know, he's like, but that moment we both had coins. He's like, I thought for a second, yeah, just for that moment, I almost believed that maybe I could make it. But he's like, no, you go on, you deserve peace. Go on, kid. But Landon filled his up part way and kept his like half of his glass. And it's like, right, if we're going to go together. So just a few more 1,000 coins to collect. And it's like, yeah, you know, which was really sweet, you know, but Alaric's like, nah, this is taking too long. I'm going to find a cheap way. And that faster, cheap way is the Sphinx. Hey, man, we ain't seen you since season... Was that season 2 or was that season 1? That had to be season... No, that was season 2, right? Because by then we knew about him being the Phoenix and everything. So it was season 2 because he gave the prophecy about Landon dying and everything. So I was like, oh, cool. So, another familiar face. Hey! So, definitely going to be interesting to see what that afterlife situation looks like. Then, present day, we have the whole Jed. We are picking up with Jed and Caleb, but Jed's protecting someone without their skin. And at first I was like, they have blue eyes. So I was like, it can't, because I'm about to say, like, is it Caleb? But it's like, no, it can't be Caleb. Because I thought the thing, like, the Argus thing wasn't dead. And basically it stole that dude's skin. And now it stole Caleb's skin. No, it's actually Caleb burning it. But luckily, Caleb, you know, later on we find out he stabbed himself to kind of remove himself from the equation. Because I love back at the Salvatore school, you had MG leading like the super squad conversation, but everyone's going. Lizzie's going, Josie's off dealing with what she's dealing with, which we'll get to later. And also on top of that, the only people there are Ethan and Cleo. And it's like, Cleo, do you know where they are? And she's like, why would I know that? And Ethan's like, well, he's kind of your boyfriend. She's like, well, we haven't defined our relationship. No more than you two have defined your circumstances with Lizzie. It's like, well, that's true. But yeah, they get called out by the teacher. He's like, oh, while Alaric's in his condition, I'm be the one acting so there's no need for your super squad. Malivore is going, the monsters are going, yeah, guy. And then Jed shows up, hey, Caleb's kind of going buck wild. I need help. And so the fact is that Ethan did decide that he wanted to stay back was weird. But then we find out this thing, who or whatever it is, has the power to drive monsters insane. So I guess that's why it was so drawn to, like, why it didn't stick around when it came to Clark. Because Clark is, like, before it probably would have taken attention to Clark because he was connected to Malivore, but maybe it's drawn, like, it seems specifically it draws in monsters. So I guess if you're something other than just the natural three, like a vampire, werewolf, or a witch, but it seems specifically tied to monsters. So maybe it's anything tied to, like, Malivore. I'm curious what the rules are, but it's like, maybe it's not just Malivore, but maybe it's like everything outside of those supernatural groups. Like, maybe this has something to do with Malivore in the sense that maybe it might even just be a triad thing of like, right, we have the thing that can draw monsters in and we toss them inside to be fed to Malivore. Maybe that's what this, but like, why is it here now? Like, why was it just out in the middle of somewhere missing its skin? Did what's his face do it? Argus or what? Because the person is like, when he does fully heal, he's like, yeah, it always, sorry about the noises. That usually happens when I'm recovering my tongue. And you're like, what? Who and what are you? Because once again, Caleb lost control of himself and so does Ethan. So it's like, and they feel the need like they have to kill him. I wonder, is he even killable? I'd assume, I mean, his skin literally got removed. Caleb burned him to a crisp and he still survived. So there's something there. Well, because like, despite everything, like, it keeps putting itself back together. So I guess it's more like I guess we're kind of, he's almost like Deadpool, I guess, in a sense, because Deadpool has like that crazy healing factor of that same level. So. But obviously, like, Cleo and MG, when they went to go track down Caleb, they were talking about, she was, like, saying, like, she's not worried about Caleb, but he was like, no, it's okay. Just like I worry about Lizzie, you should be worried about him, too. But for her, it's like, right, we haven't really had time to kind of define things. It's like, she kind of knows how she feels about him, but not quite sure. She has some idea, but it's like, no, like, the fact is that, he had given that speech wasn't that last season? The whole speech about, right, wanting to be better. But then, like, there's the whole Cleo thing that happened. Like, right, she got sucked into Malivore, so everyone ended up forgetting. So that's when they were off doing their vigilante type of thing. But Caleb had said, like, he wanted to tell all that stuff to her, like how much she made him a better person. And MG's like, right, he hasn't talked to you about that, right? And she's like, no. And it's like, right, what you guys have is something special, And I think in that moment she started realizing it, especially when they find out, like, oh, Caleb didn't just go buck wild for no reason. Like, he lost control, but he stabbed himself with a stake just to stop himself. And it's like, yo, good guy Caleb coming through in the end, always. In the end, though, Jed ended up getting mad jacked up by Ethan. Which Ethan's apologetic about, but MG's telling him to bounce because he's like, no, that wasn't you. It's okay. You're good. Ethan's like, right, I came here to be a hero and I've kind of failed at that. Plus, it turns out, I was curious whether this was the case or not. I was like, no, it seemed like just the fact that he gave that exact phrasing, it's like, oh, Lizzie must have put him under the spell. It's like, no, he said that exact phrasing because he needed to kind of come up for life. So it's like, right, it'd be easier just to use the exact wording Lizzie gave him. But it's like, yeah, he remembers everything. Like, Lizzie didn't whammy him, which is really effed up in its own regard because it's like, it does make it even more selfish because it's like, right, that means you believed the spiel that Lizzie was saying to you, but it's also about the thing of, right, you get to keep a good you get to keep your memories of her, time with her, rather than it being some fabricated, replacing the real memories with a fabricated memory just to, like, placate you. It's like, no, like, you get to keep the real memory. Because he even said, right, I wanted to say initially, he's like, I wanted it to be like, in the end, I was trying to do the thing any leader would do, make the hard choices. And I thought what I was doing for the betterment of school, but it's like, no, I just wanted Lizzie to be happy with me. I didn't want to do anything that would disappoint her because I wanted her to choose me. And MG's like, right, you were right. You don't deserve to be here. get out. It's like, oh, you and MG are done, because MG's all about saving Hope and hasn't given up on her. And the fact is Ethan did that and like has lied to his best bro. Like, I know we're on opposite sides of this, but this isn't just about our feelings for Lizzie. This is about one of my friends. You know, someone that's helped you out too. It's like you're willing to throw Hope to the wolves, like, and let her die. Because this also puts Lizzie in a bad situation. Because like if Lizzie goes off, like she could die, which she did. Luckily, she had vampire blood. But it's like, right, going forward, that's going to be on Ethan, because he's going to blame himself for that, and also MG's going to blame him, because it's like, right, if Ethan had stopped you, or at least had been honest with us, you know. But it's like, right, she would have given him false memories, and he would have, you know, went and told you that same thing anyway. It still would have been better, because then it wouldn't have been his fault. He would have been trying to do the right thing. And even then, he could have been like, right, I'll lie to them, and it didn't still told them the truth. The difference, because it's completely opposite from what Cleo did, because she lied, because, right, this is the means to kill Hope, and she didn't know to trust anyone with it. But even MG was like, no, I understand why you didn't tell anybody, so yeah, destroy it. So that kind of sucked. Obviously, you have Josie believing that the only way she can save Hope is by leaving this school, because it's like the therapy box pointed her in the right direction. But now it's the hard conversations about, like, she's trying to leave a letter for her dad, but she keeps scratching through it. Now it's like, right, gotta talk to Finch, and gotta have the conversation with Lizzie. Neither conversation's easier. I think the conversation with Finch was probably going to be the hardest, because she's the one that can. She even talks about it later on. It's like, right, because Finch is like, weren't you the one that literally told me that when it came to our relationship that you wanted someone that would fight for you, to stay by you, fight to stay, and I stayed, and now you're leaving? And she's like, yes, but I brought another ticket. It's like, yeah, my plan was always to have you come with me, but the problem is, you've acclimated to this place. Before it'd be a different story, but now you've found a home here. You've found a pack. You've made friends, like things you didn't really have before. It's like, you know, because now you can be open with people about, yeah, you're a wolf and everything, so you're able to be fully yourself without judgment here. But obviously for Finch, it's like she wouldn't have any of this without Josie. So for her, it's like, right, I will gladly give it up if it means I could be with Josie. But the problem is, when with Jed kind of down for a bit, she ends up having to step up because she has to be there for the pack. It's like, right, they are kind of a new family for her. It's like they're kind of lost without their alpha, and it's like, I have to be there for them. Like, I'm the only one who can. So, and even Josie knows that, so she has to say goodbye. And it's like, right, but at the end of the day, like, Josie needs this, you know, she needs to go find her own path. Because even Josie's like, right, the therapy box told me I need to do this alone. And I guess my dependency, my whole, like, old habits are, like, harder to break than I thought. Because I'm still, like, trying to, like, no, find a way around it, try to be there with someone that's like, no, I need to go through this alone, figured it out on my own. So, doesn't even have it, you know, it's like, right, maybe when I get back after saving Hope and stuff like that, maybe, you know, but it's like, yeah, let's just take this one step at a time and see where we are when you do come back, you know, however long that's going to take. What her journey is going to look like, we'll have to wait and see. But she got that final message from Lizzie being like, right, you can't feel me. It's like, yeah, I couldn't feel you either, because their connection has been severed, because they're twins, yeah, but it's also like, right, it complicates things, because Lizzie will never age, but she'll watch as her twin ages and dies, which is so interesting, because, you know, I'll go ahead and talk about it, because it's a first episode thing. It reminds me of Manifest, like Olive and Cal. Olive is 5 years older, even though they're twins, because he was gone for 5 years. That whole thing, well, potentially they are maybe the same age now. Well, that's spoiler territory. Yes, I'll leave it at that. I'll shut my mouth, because I shouldn't have said that last part. Whatever. It just kind of reminded me of that. Like, right, that's because also that means she also could never have children, because of that whole snafu of, right, being a vampire makes that impossible. Well, there is still the cure situation, because Rebecca hasn't taken it yet, so there's still that is in play, because she was even willing to give it to Hope in the grand scheme of things, but maybe it ends up getting passed to Lizzie instead. But the problem is, returning her back to being a normal human and a witch, it's like, it comes still with the whole thing of, cool, we're still gonna have to worry about the merge, because potentially as her as a vampire, we wouldn't have to worry about that, but we'll have to wait and see how that all turns out. We also had the whole thing of Caleb and Cleo officially dating, and she's like, "Yeah, you are my boyfriend." And he's like, "What? I'm your boyfriend?" She's like, "Yeah, don't make such a big deal out of it." I'm like, you two are so cute. I love it. Yeah, we made it official. Oh, this love in the air is so sweet. So, yeah. It's definitely going to be wild and crazy to ultimately see where all of this ends up taking us. Finding out who this new guy is, what he is, why monsters are affected the way they are. This whole Lizzie and Hope thing. What's going to happen with Ethan now. Fitch kind of taking over with the pack and stuff, staying behind, what that's going to look like. Josie's journey, the thing with our trio in the afterlife with the Sphinx. So many moving pieces. It's definitely going to be interesting to see what happens when Legacies return. Obviously, because it is the holiday season and this is around the time a lot of stuff is taking its break. Legacy is no different. Legacies is going on a little over a month of a break and won't be coming back until January 27th. So do keep that in mind. But really, that's all I want to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.